Hi, today you are embroidering with Cody, and this was a special request video. We wanted to cover the features of the Plus series machines. So those of you who had an 880 or a 790 and you upgraded your machine to add the Plus features, which then makes it an 880 Plus and a 790 Plus, this is some of the things that were included in that Plus upgrade. So this video, we're going to focus on pinpoint placement. This is probably one of the best features that was added. It makes lining up your embroidery on your fabric extremely easy. So if your fabric is hooped crooked, there's no need to worry because we can easily line it up in a matter of seconds. So what we have here is our hoop. Let's zoom out. So we have our hoop. So I specifically hooped my fabric crooked, so you will be able to see how we're going to be able to line that up extremely easy. So we can go ahead and attach this to our machine. There we are. So you can see, so I'm straight on, you can see how crooked our line is. So I'll get back to our machine. So what we're going to do, this is called pinpoint placement. So we can essentially just use 2 points and line it straight. We're going to make our design as crooked as our fabric is. So we have our design here. So we're going to go to our eye settings, and then we'll go to our pinpoint placement. So this is our pinpoint placement icon. So we'll click that, and you have 2 different ways to do pinpoint placement, but we're going to use the grid method. It's the most common method for everyday embroidery lineup. So that's this one right here. So we'll select that. So what we can do is we can even zoom in if we needed to, because we are using the MIDI hoop right now. So we're going to select the center point. So when you select that center point, the hoop moves. So it moved to the center of the hoop at this point, because whenever we bring up a design, it always places it in the center of the hoop. So we click the center of the design on the screen, and now we are going to move it to the center of our crosshair. So we're going to move it right here. So if I were to lower my needle, you'll see where it currently is. That's the center of the design, where it currently sits in the center of the hoop. But you can clearly see we're not in the center of the crosshair. So what we're going to do, we're going to use our stitch width and our stitch length knobs, and we're going to move it over, and we're going to move it down. Let's see. Always drop that needle to see where you're at. So we're very, very close. We can afford to come up a little bit and to the left a little bit. So there we are, right in the center. Perfect. So now what we want to do, so now that we have our center where we want it to be, and you can see what the point that we're working with has a little white line around it. That means we have it selected, and that's the point we're working with. So once you have it, then you're going to set that point, and then it'll turn yellow. So now what we're going to do is we're going to select, because we're lining up with the horizontal line, we're going to select either the center left horizontal or the right center. So we'll select this one. So what this is telling us is because we dropped our needle and we didn't bring it back up. So it wants to move the hoop and everything, but it can't because the needle's down. So what you need to do is just turn the handle like the picture says and raise the needle, and the hoop will move. So now what we're going to do, we'll go back to our line. So you can see here, we drop our needle, you can see we're really off. So we need to go up. Now, one thing to remember, so we are dealing with a horizontal line. So when we selected the first point, we used the stitch width knob and the stitch length knob, because we had to kind of have to move it over to the right and move it down. So it required the movement and the use of both knobs. However, we have that center point locked in now. So since we selected our second point, we can only use one knob. So we're lining up with the horizontal line. So we're only going to want to use the stitch length knob, which is just going to move our design up. If we use our stitch width knob and move it over to the right or to the left, it's going to change the size of the design. That's another pinpoint placement video, which is amazing. But for this case, we don't want to change the size of our design. We just want to line it up with our horizontal line to make sure our design is as crooked as our fabric is hooped. So now what we're going to do is we're using the stitch length knob, and we're moving the design up. And one thing to take note, so when the first point you select and you're moving your design, the design moves very quickly because it's just moving. Now, once you select your second point and you start moving and adjusting your design, it takes a lot more turning of your multifunctional knobs in order to get it to move, because it's also recalibrating and sometimes reshaping the design. So we drop our needle, so we're almost there, so a little bit further. So now right on the line, perfect. So now we can raise our needle, and let's go back to our screen. So now look at our design. Our design is crooked. It's very crooked, but so was the line on our fabric in our hoop. So now our design is as crooked as our fabric is hooped. So it's going to line up perfectly. So there's no doubt, there's no fear when you start embroidering that our design is going to be crooked or it's not going to be perfect. Because that's everybody's fear, is once you hoop a t-shirt and you start embroidering on the t-shirt, you're afraid that your design is going to be crooked on your shirt. Well, as long as you drew the lines on your t-shirt before you hooped it and to make sure everything was straight there, it's super easy to line it up here. So now, once we have our second point selected and moved, we're then going to set that point. It's very important. You need to set both points. So now our design is as crooked as our t-shirt. So at this point, you can just exit out and then go and embroider, and you'll be good to go. All right, and that is the first part of the pinpoint placement video. All right, happy embroidering.